am the Executive Director of Communications and Engagement here at Minneapolis Public Schools. Please take a moment to silence your phones and other devices if you have not done so already. Since sharing the news early last week about our revised special education revenue and the fact that it has reduced our projected budget gap, we have heard from several of you and thought it would be easier to come together and share details here in this way. We have 4 speakers whose names are spelled out on the fact sheet we provided, and we will take a few minutes at the end for questions, and that fact sheet is available at the table where you entered. I do want to state in advance that we are not able to comment on or respond to questions about specific employees or other non-public information. I will now turn it over to School Board Chair Colin Beachy to get us going.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. So, 2 years ago, we hired Superintendent Dr. Sales Adams, and we gave her a simple task to ensure that every part of our district is working to benefit our students. So, to that end, we had her look at our practices, our procedures, our organizational structure, our programming, our curriculum, our service delivery, and everything else. I'm a longtime employee of this district, and I knew that when she came into this, that she was going to find some of the amazing things that are going on in this district. What our teachers are doing, our principals, our ESPs, and our staff. It's no surprise. I also knew that when she looked into things, she would find areas that need to be looked at, paid more attention to, and have more controls over. Most importantly, I knew that whatever she was going to do was going to benefit our students. She took this job in the middle of a school year at a time when we had a huge budget deficit. That was a choice she made. So, while the purpose of understanding and making some of these changes, I understand the frustration about how long it takes to do some of these things. But in a large organization that's as complex as this one, things take time. And she's been on this from the start. Special education and finance were two of the topics that surfaced immediately. And this increase of $20 million in revenue is the most recent result of Dr. Sales Adams' leadership and how our students, our staff, and our broader community benefits when we focus on improving our processes for our students. I will now turn it over to the MPS Superintendent and the 2026 Superintendent of the Year, Dr. Lisa Sales Adams.
Thank you, Chair Beachy. And again, good morning to everyone, and thank you for being here. I am Dr. Lisa Sales Adams, the proud superintendent of Minneapolis Public Schools, and I remain committed to ensuring that we do everything possible to make sure that our students have the resources and the supports they need and deserve. But doing that takes listening, it takes learning, but it also takes time. So, as our chair did say, I have been in Minneapolis Public Schools since February of 2024. And the first thing that I started with was a listening tour. And it was a 100-day listening tour where I took the opportunity to engage with and listen to our community. During my 100-day listening tour, one of the 3 questions that I asked was, if you were superintendent, what would you change first? So I'd like to share some results with you. 70% of respondents identified some aspects of the organization as their main priority, with 42% asking us to focus on fixing the structure of the district. 25% of respondents mentioned programming as an area of priority for improvement, with a request to audit special education, the department, and increase consistency. After hearing that feedback, it was clear that I needed to start with a focus on special education. So I did commission the Council of Great City Schools, which is a national organization that supports urban school districts, to conduct what they call a strategic support review of our special education department and programming. For more than 20 years, the council has conducted these reviews on a range of topics for school districts across the country. A team of council staff, content experts, and practitioners from peer districts led the process, conducting an extensive data review and interviewing a wide variety of our stakeholders on site. They provided a series of recommendations and encouraged more extensive reviews of special education expense coding and billing practices so we could maximize revenue and reimbursement. Even before the council report was finalized, I proactively engaged experts to review our special education finances. This resulted in a departmental restructure and the hiring of Dr. Liz Keenan as Associate Superintendent of Special Education and Student Support Services. This work began immediately, and it yielded results. The impact of this work was already evident in January, when we projected a $10 million year-over-year increase in special education funding revenue. So thank you to Dr. Keenan's leadership and our budget team. In collaboration with our special education and finance teams, we continued our expense coding and categorization work earlier this year along CISO, our third-party technical finance consultant. The team was able to make additional adjustments, including maximizing state funding by coding certain expenses to federal funds, all of which Dr. Keenan can detail shortly. That led to even higher projected revenue for both the current year and the next year. This topic may be very technical in nature, but the real impact is clear, and that's something that we're very excited about. By adding the equivalent of about 100 full-time positions, we are reducing the uncertainty for our families and ensuring that our students have the supports and resources they need and deserve. But while we are celebrating the increase in revenue, we must remember that school districts, including Minneapolis Public Schools, are still facing chronic underfunding. That is something that we're still facing. We are forced to make difficult and often painful decisions because there aren't enough dollars to begin with, and the dollars are not stretching as far as we need them to. We've done the hard work to ensure we are capturing the funding we are owed through better accuracy and oversight. It doesn't fix the underfunding of special education. There's a reason why so many districts in our state are facing budget shortfalls, some at a greater percentage than Minneapolis Public Schools. We need more investment in our students and in public education. And this is especially important and relevant for special education funding right now, as there is an automatic $250 million reduction of state special education funding already in law in the next biennium. Minneapolis Public Schools renews our call to lawmakers to repeal this automatic cut, as it would have a devastating impact here and districts across the state. We started with special education, we've looked at transportation, and we are in the midst of an ongoing comprehensive review of our financial processes. I intend to keep moving on to other major departments and functions to continue improving for our students and our community. That is a commitment that I remain and stand very strong on. We will now ask Associate Superintendent of Special Education and Student Support Services, Dr. Liz Keenan, to come and share some technical information on special education funding. It is complex, it is technical, but it is important to understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sales Adams. Good morning. This portion will be the technical part of it so that everybody understands special education funding is complex. and that we are all here to make sure that we're being transparent and understanding of the changes that we had to really work on this year. So I am Dr. Liz Keenan. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Special Education and Student Support Services. Special education revenue in Minnesota is complex and nuanced. It has been summarized as a multi-step hybrid formula that combines the cost reimbursement formula with a modified census style of funding that authorizes serving school districts and charter schools to bill a portion of their unfunded special ed costs attributable to non-resident students back to the student's resident school district. It uses several calculations, including the initial aid, excess cost aid, transportation, and makes adjustments for tuition billing and cross-subsidy. This all goes into our formula for funding. Even just the initial aid is calculated as the sum of special education-related transportation costs, plus the least of the either. So MDE, when we do this, they always go with the least amount. A percentage of the district's non-federal expenditures for the previous year, including the fringe benefits, plus a percentage of the district's special education expenditures under the old special education formulas, which include fringe benefits. Or they take it a percentage of the program growth factor times the sum of 4 other factors related to the average daily membership of the students served in the specific programs in special education. And then comes the excess cost aid, tuition billing, and cross-subsidy, and the aid adjustments. These formulaic details of which I will spare you all today. On top of all this, MPS must start our budgeting process earlier than the state is able to provide revenue estimates. So we must make projections using the best data we have available at this time. Pretty straightforward, right? The main takeaway for the formulas rely heavily on the prior year's expenses. So it was critical that when I came in this year was that we needed to make sure all of our expenses were coded in the correct areas. That's extremely important. If you don't do that correctly, you'll be missing out on the revenue sources that MDE provides. This has been a priority since I started here, and I've been supported through the leadership team and Dr. Sales Adams and others to restructure the positions and prioritize time in collaboration with our finance team, and to ensure that this work is done correctly and as quickly as possible. This has been a time and labor-intensive process, and it required us to essentially go through every position. So essentially from December to February, we were going through every position, every contract, every item that we were coding over to special ed and making sure that we were appropriately doing so. And then we must ensure that we have backup paperwork is in place, that we are demonstrating that these staff are 100% with special ed or the percentage that they're saying they are. MDE has very strict guidelines around this, and we are making sure that we are adhering by all of them. We then must enter these expenses into the state special education billing system so that they have matches and we report through the financial systems. This work has been done in partnership with our finance department, and we have grown the understanding of special ed here in MPS. The finances were nuanced. When we came in here, very few people who knew and fully understood the special ed funding parts of it, and now we have a team that was here and they were trained up. And as the superintendent mentioned, it meant that we were projecting higher state special education revenue even in January compared to what we had budgeted from the current year. And recently, of course, this projection was revised even higher. Ensuring that special education revenue is maximized is ultimately a shared responsibility between the special education director and the business manager, and this has been a priority for me. I've been grateful for the support from the staff from the CISO, the consulting group that has been working with us, and they've been over the past few months, and a focus on how we can code to our federal funding that actually will maximize our state funding. While our energy has been spent on the current year and we are controlled, we can see that things are slightly improved in the year 24-25 compared to the prior year, but this issue has been occurring at least since 22-23, and even earlier due to the not fully understanding the special education nuances. I do have a specific figure, but it is likely tens of millions of dollars in lost revenue over the 5 period because of not coding positions fully to special education and not fully submitting the positions to the state for state aid reimbursement. In the end, our final projected numbers meant that we could reduce the amount of non-special education general fund that needed to be covered to cover the unreimbursed portion of special ed. The overall cross subsidy has gone down from 55 million that MPS was paying out down to 30 million. Special education is not fully funded, but we still have to pay out our part of it. But that reduction from 55 to 30 million is another 25 million back to the general fund. This 55 million was being compensated fully by the general fund. Now there is still a cost of 30 million. However, 25 million is coming out for the general fund next year, which is lower than we previously thought. This allows us to support schools and students. Said another way, we were able to give many schools additional funding that could be used in a variety of ways. To share more about this, we're going to invite our esteemed principal at Edison High School to talk about how we were able to utilize the funding to support our schools and our students. Erin Warney.
Thank you, Dr. Keenan. Good morning. I'm Erin Warney, and it has been my pleasure and my honor to serve as the principal of Edison High School for the past 11 years. And I am here to talk about how these additional dollars will make a positive difference for us in the upcoming school year. So we received our initial budget allocations in February of this year, and while we were pleased that the dollars afforded to us did allow us to offer manageable class sizes and to continue to offer strong academic programming, we did see significant losses from among the ranks of our educational support professionals, or our ESPs. These are the folks who provide a lot of the safety, security, social, emotional support for our students when they're in the classroom and when they're out of the classroom. For example, we at Edison had a team this year of 6 individuals who provide a lot of care for our students. They greet our students at the door every morning. They see them safely off at the end of the day. They supervise our hallways and our cafeteria. They're there for students to have someone to talk to when they're feeling down, when they're feeling worried, or when they have something that they want to celebrate. They call our parents to let parents know how their students are doing in school. They hold our students accountable to our behavior policies. In short, they are incredibly essential. And with the budget losses, we had to reduce that team of 6 down to just 2 individuals. And as you can imagine, we were quite concerned about that. But with these additional dollars, we were able to buy that particular team back up to 5 people, which feels like a great relief to us, that we'll be able to offer those supports and that security to our students. Additionally, at Edison, over the past few years, we've had 2 student and family advocates. They've been essential to provide the cultural and language supports for our families, specifically 2 populations, our Latino and our East African families. If our parents did not attend school in the United States, helping to support their child through education can be incredibly daunting, and those advocates are really essential to helping students stay connected through those relationships with their parents. We had to cut one of those positions initially. We were able to buy back that position. So our parents are thrilled about that connection that they'll continue to be able to have. We also had a position that we had to reduce the number of hours. That position provided language support and academic support right in the classroom to our students who are new to country. Now we've been able to make that position whole, which means that our students will have adequate support throughout their school day, even extending into their after-school programming, making those opportunities much more equitable. So again, we are grateful, we're relieved to have these funds restored to us. We're going to put them to very good use to be able to support our students, their sense of safety and their sense of welcoming at our school building. And we'll continue to educate the whole child, which is important to us, all of us in the Minneapolis Public Schools. I'm going to send it over to Chair Beachy, who I think has some summarizing statements to give us.
All right, thank you, Principal Warney. Thank you, Dr. Keenan. Thank you to the people standing back here, off to the side here, for everything that you've been doing during this time. I know that you've been working very hard to actualize this revenue and to put it in place in a very short amount of time. And I think that all of you heard from Dr. Keenan how much work actually goes into this. So before I wrap up, just a couple of notes for people and let you know things that are going on here. Earlier this week, our school board's finance committee, led by our treasurer, Director Abdul Abdi, received another report on this increased special education funding, and we forwarded the administration's proposed budget onto the full board. The board will have a first reading of the budget at our meeting next Tuesday, May 12th, and it is on our June 9th agenda for approval, which is ahead of the state-mandated June 15th deadline. Now, as chair, when Superintendent Dr. Sales Adams was interviewing for this position, she told us that she was going to listen, and then she was going to learn, and then she was going to lead. So, welcome to phase 3. I want to express my gratitude to the superintendent and her team for their diligence and commitment to transparency in this process. If you haven't seen it already, I recommend checking out our new budget transparency website, which is budget.mpsschools.org. I'll say that again, budget.mpsschools.org, and you're able to review every part of this budget. Now, I don't know if any of you are aware, I serve on the board of the statewide school board association as well. And so I do talk with board directors all over the state. And yes, everyone's in a difficult position right now. But I can also say, from talking to all of them, not a one of them has a website that is this transparent about their budget. So, this is the level of transparency that we expected from her. And this is what she's been delivering. This is what accountability looks like. It's not always pretty, doesn't always feel good, but it's necessary. And it's required of my job. And our students deserve nothing less. These are public resources, and therefore the public should be able to easily see how our dollars are being spent. And that's the move that we are trying to make. I do want to thank you all for being here again. I do have to get back to my classroom. So I am going to turn it over to Dr. Belcher for Donnie Belcher for asking for a few questions, and then I got to go meet my kiddos. But thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chair Beachy. So we have time for a few questions. If you can just raise your hand and say the outlet that you're with. I do want to take this opportunity to remind you again, as we've been working through some recent personnel matters, we are not able to comment or respond to those matters directly due to data privacy laws and policies. And then, as always, we are happy to follow up offline if you have questions we are not able to get to or that require any sort of accessing of data or specific information. So, questions? I'm going to direct that question to Dr. Keenan.
Yes, whenever you can recover funding and to be able to code it correctly, and when we're maximizing it, then we would have more revenue. And so even though this is special ed funding that we've increased on the revenue side, by correctly coding it, it really is benefiting the general ed side. So this is really supporting not only special ed, making sure that we're doing our work and supports for kids in special ed, but it's also providing those essential positions, as Principal Warney was talking about, in the schools. So now that we have an understanding of what we need to do going forward, going into next year, where we're way ahead of the game, that we know that we can project and we can be more accurate. Our timelines don't always match up with what the state provides, and then we wanted to make sure, because this was the year where really fixing and updating things, we wanted to make sure we were correct. And so going into next year will be much easier for us to be able to predict, and so that we can really allow principals to program and plan for staffing and not have to do like, okay, we're going to have to eliminate this position and now we're bringing you back. We don't ever want to do that. This was just the year that we had to make sure that we were extremely cautious but confident around our numbers. And now that we knew this happened at this time, we have still some time to be able to recover positions.
Thank you, Dr. Keenan. We'll go to Ben, and then our final question will come from Melissa.
I understand you can't share names and phone numbers, home addresses, but for those that were responsible for making these errors, have they been held accountable?
I'm going to send that question to Dr. Sells Adams.
Okay, so due to data privacy laws, we are not allowed to share any of that information. But what I can tell you are some of the things that we are doing to work on our finances. So I'll just let you know that when I started, as the chair said, in February of 2024, Minneapolis Public Schools was facing a budget deficit of $110 million, which was significant. And when I arrived, we got right to work to develop a multi-pronged strategy to address our budget. But we also had a, let me see, oh, as I shared earlier, I did the listening and learning tours, which was significant because it allowed me to have a better understanding of what our community thought was most important. And then we also had an opportunity to get direction, I will say opportunity, but to get direction from our board to really start to be more efficient with our resources. So we did do that. But also in the following year, which was last year, we had a budget deficit of $75 million. And that's also the year that we started the review with the Council of Great City Schools. So in addition to having more information, so that gets the listening, learning, evaluating, and leading. So having that data and having that information, that allowed us to get to where we are today. So when you know better, you do better. But we also had a tech levy ballot question on the ballot, which brought more resources into the district, in addition to working to find more efficiencies. Now this year, and I will say that having the additional revenue, so this is new revenue that's coming into the district, $20 million as a result of hard work is a good message, because now our budget deficit is $39.7 million. And this will be the first time in my tenure that we are going to be providing a balanced budget to our school board that doesn't use one-time funding.
Thank you, Superintendent. And then we'll squeeze in two more, Melissa, and then we'll come over here.
Melissa Whitler, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota Reformer. So just talking with people who are familiar with the district, it's my understanding that for the past, like at least 20 years, the adult education program has been self-sustaining. And one of the things that you're doing with this money is taking about 1.6 million and moving that to adult education. And my understanding is that these are funds that are generated by K-12 students. So that is something that hasn't been done before. And I'm wondering, given the extensive, community engagement that has happened over the past couple of years with the listening tour, there's the transformation survey, there was another parent survey. Where did adult education come out in that list of priorities so that it can prioritize this funding, as opposed to some of the other things that you've looked at over the years, like best assistant principals, the magnet specialist teachers, math interventionist, OPSA, where does that fall?
Great question. I am actually going to recommend that we connect with our leadership of that department, the adult education team, and then we will follow up in writing on that for you. Final question. I am going to send that to probably my colleague, Ryan Stratt, Senior Executive Officer.
Ryan Strack, Senior Executive Officer. Basically, what we did for our process, once we understood how what these funds were available, is went to our principals and said, what would you like to do with these? Like, you had talked to your communities, you had heard from your site councils, which is like a community and parent group that supports the principal making decisions. And we asked them to go through and say, what would you like to restore? In some cases, principals did choose to restore a counselor position or add one that hadn't been there before. So we do have some counselor positions, we have some social worker positions, some librarians, a lot of ESPs, the positions that were referenced before, are being restored. And we can provide the numbers on the specific positions if you'd like.
Thank you, Senior Officer Strack. And then just as a reminder, our budget transparency tool, mpschools.org, does provide a departmental breakdown of budgets as well as schools. So I encourage you, if you have not already, to check out that website. And again, if you have additional questions, please follow up with us in writing, as we do want to get Chair Beachy back to the classroom. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a great day.